Hello guys, welcome to a new video of the Fischer series. Today we have a really interesting game. It's a 2300 FM destroying Fischer in only 17 moves. How is that possible? A Grandmaster was almost 2700. Well, we're going back to round number 1 of the Zurich International held in 1959. This is a very interesting tournament. There are a lot of top Grandmasters like Mikhail Tal, Gligoric, Keres, Fischer, Olafsson, top players. And in round number 1, Fischer was paired against Edgar Walther, who Fischer calls an intermediate, a minor European master. Fischer actually annotated this game in his 60 memorable games. That's how interesting it is. And let's just dive straight into the game. Edgar starts with e4. Now Fischer replies with c5, and he's basically saying, okay, you're 300 elo points lower, I should definitely win this, let me play aggressively the Sicilian. Knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, and knight c3. So this is all standard theory. And now you can play g6, e6, knight to c6, a6. There's a lot possible here. Fischer plays a6, the Najdorf. So with the Najdorf, there's a lot of theory. You can play bishop e2, bishop e3, bishop c4, the Fischer-Sozin attack, bishop g5, f3, and all those moves have sidelines as well. So Edgar plays bishop g5. Now we have e6, f4, and here it branches out again. You can play bishop e7 and go for a castle. You can play knight b to d7 or queen to b6. And Fischer actually says in his book that the sharpest move here is queen to b6, which I tried with success later in my career. And that's actually the opening he used against Spassky in the 1972 World Championship match. So here he opts for bishop e7. Now we have queen to f3, the only move to keep the advantage. You want to castle long and attack on the king side, and black will castle short and attack on the queen side. So now knight b to d7, but Fischer here says that actually queen to c7 is better here because you prevent the bishop coming to c4. Well, why is that important? Well, after knight b to d7, bishop to c4, queen to c7, attacking the bishop, here we have an amazing move. Bishop takes e6. And after f takes e6, knight takes e6, we took 2 pawns for the bishop. We're attacking the queen. Queen has to move. And now knight takes g7. King has to move again. Knight to f5. And we won 3 pawns for a bishop. So material-wise, it's equal. But just look at black's king side. It's shattered. White will castle long. And basically attack you on the king side. And it will be an easy game for Edgar. So that's why Fischer says that he first should have played bishop or queen to c7 here. But okay, knight b to d7 is a fine move. Edgar doesn't play bishop c4 here, he castles long. And after long castles, Fischer says, okay, I'm not giving you that opportunity again. Now I will play queen to c7. So Edgar plays bishop d3, he cannot bring his bishop here anymore. This is a bit more passive, but it's still a fine move, nothing wrong with it. And now Fischer goes for b5, starting his attack. But the problem here is that after bishop takes, you cannot take back with the bishop. You have to take back with the knight. Because if you take with the bishop, now we have e5. And you can see the bishop is under attack, but the rook is also hanging. No one is defending the rook. So what can you do here? Well, bishop b7 maybe to attack the queen. But now we would have an amazing move, which is knight takes b5, giving away the knight. Well, how does it work? Can we not just take the queen? No, because then we are taking the queen with a fork. So that doesn't work. Well, what about taking the knight? Well, after knight takes, we took 2 pawns for a knight. We're attacking the queen. Queen has to move. Now we take the bishop. Queen takes and knight to d6 with a fork. That's really beautiful. That's why the bishop had to stay on e7 to defend the d6 square. Okay. Fischer knows that line, so after bishop takes, he takes with the knight back. Now we have rook to e1, activating the rook and wanting to push e5. Bishop to b7, so you cannot push e5 because the queen is under attack. And now king to b1. This is a very useful move because often in the Sicilian Najdorf, we want to bring the rook to c8 with the queen lined up attacking the c file like this. And you want to bring the king to b1 to defend the a2 square and not have it on the same line as the rook and the queen. Okay, very standard till now, nothing spectacular. Rook to c8 and g4. You can see Edgar's pieces are all lined up beautifully. He just pushes g4 and goes for the king side attack. And you don't want g5 to come with tempo, so you have to move the knight. Knight to d7, g5, and here Fischer makes a critical mistake. Here he should have played b4 to kick away this knight. It's a very important knight, which I will show you in a minute. Because after knight to e2, now we can play knight to c5. And this is not really dangerous. But why is the knight dangerous on c3? Well, after knight to b6, which Fischer played, which is a terrible mistake, now we have f5, e5 attacking the knight, and after f6 we cannot take the knight because the knight of c3 can jump into d5, and that would be a problem because if we take back with the pawn and look at this pressure. And if we had kicked away the knight on b4, then there would be no d5 threat. So now we cannot take the knight, we actually have to take the pawn. Pawn takes, bishop back, and now the knight jumps to d5 anyway, even without taking the knight. And you can see this knight's really annoying here. Because after knight takes, pawn takes, you can see our bishop is terrible. It's blocked in here. The other bishop is terrible. The king side is shattered. And white's position is beautiful. His king is very beautifully placed. The rooks are nice. Pieces are very well placed here. So it's a way better position for white. So Fischer here is in a lot of trouble. And he actually respects Edgar's play here. He plays king to d8. And now Edgar plays knight to c6 check. And Fischer says, a wise investment. The pawn sack is insignificant compared to the opening of the center files against black's king. So, if we take, pawn takes, queen takes, we're actually up a pawn as black, but our position is so bad that it's better to just open up the center for white, because now we can play bishop to e4, queen to b6, and after queen to b6, we have queen to h5, attacking this pawn. And we cannot simply defend it very easily. So Fischer plays king to c7. First, Edgar plays bishop to f5 to attack the rook. He still doesn't take. Rook to d8, and now he takes with check. We cannot defend it because then the bishop will take it. So we have to move the king to b8. And material-wise, we're equal now again, but just look at how beautiful white's position is here. And Fischer actually says in the book that ordinarily the curtain would be drawn here, but I just wanted to see what he would do next. So Fischer basically says, okay, normally I would just resign, but it's an FM. I just want to see what he does, right? So now queen to e6, making way for the pawn. Queen to c7, rook to rook to e3, making a way for the rook to come to c3 to have this pressure. And now bishop to h6, attacking the rook, rook to c3, king to b7, queen to b7, and f7. Well, it's not really a threat right now, we can just take it, but we have to keep an eye on the pawn. Fischer plays bishop to g7. He wants to push and attack the rook, but it's a bit desperate. It doesn't really work, because now Edgar just simply plays rook c to d3, attacking this pawn 3 times. So Fischer has to come back again. So he just played bishop to h6, bishop to g7, and bishop to f8 back again, while white improved his position by pushing the pawn and lining up the rooks. And now Edgar plays a really nice move, which is queen takes e5, giving away the queen. Because after d takes e5, we take the rook with check, and wherever the king goes, we will take back your queen. So Fischer just plays king to a7, rook to d7, and your queen is pinned. We will just take the queen back. Fischer plays h5, and now we have rook takes b7, king takes b7, and you can see material-wise, well, we're just up one pawn, but we'll definitely win another pawn. Black's position is terrible. Rook's doing nothing. Just look at those pieces, and white's really safe here. So after c3, making way for the king to come, we have king to c7. I'll just show it a bit quickly. After taking some pawns, we can see it's 1 pawn for black against 1, 2, 3 pawns for white. So Edgar should win this, right? But Fischer still keeps on playing. And now we see some pieces shuffling on the board. And after rook takes, king takes, we can see in this position, it's a really nice endgame to learn, opposite colored bishop endgame. And what I want you to know is that after some king moves, we have this critical moment. Fischer here wants to sacrifice the dark squared bishop for the 2 pawns. If he accomplishes that and brings the king to h8, this pawn will never be able to promote. Even though white takes this pawn, we can never promote the h3 pawn because it's a light squared bishop, and a light squared bishop can never check the king on h8. So it's a wrong colored bishop here for the endgame. If it was a dark squared bishop, then we can just check the king on h8, king has to move, and we can promote the pawn. So Fischer's only objective here is to just sacrifice his dark squared bishop for the 2 pawns. So how can we accomplish that? Well, Edgar here plays a4, and that's actually the move which draws the game. If he had played b4, he would have won the game. And that's how little this difference is, which is crazy in my opinion. How does it work? Well, after a4, we see the king coming to a7, and after the white king moves to c4, we are in time to bring the bishop back and line it up on those dark squares, which are very important because the pawns cannot advance then anymore. We will simply give away the bishop for the 2 pawns, which Fischer does. So then what is the difference if we had played b4 first? Well, after b4, king to c7, king to a5, king to b8, b5, king to a7. We still made it to a7, right? But now we have b6. King has to move back. And just look at this bishop and the pawn defending those 3 squares. So whenever the bishop goes back to f2, attacking the pawn, we cannot sacrifice the bishop for the 2 pawns because the king is too far away. And that's the little difference in this position. So this would have been the winning move for Edgar. But he played a4, and I mean, honestly, I find it a bit sad because he plays so beautifully till now, and he just makes this little mistake which costs him the game. Because as you can see, bishop comes back. There's not much you can do. Fischer even goes d2. You can give a check, but it's fine. After king to a4, you have to prevent the king coming to b5 because then white can win. So king to c6, check, and this is simply a draw. Well, why is it a draw? After b7, can we not just queen? No, because we will bring the bishop back. It will defend the b8 square. For example, if Edgar keeps on playing, we will play king to c6, attacking the b7 pawn. Then a6, king to b6, attacking this pawn. The bishop has to keep defending the a6 pawn. Our bishop keeps an eye on the b8 square. And for example, if you try to bring the king in, let me just show you. We can simply play king to a7. And we're defending this square 2 times. If you move the bishop, we simply take this pawn, and even though you queen, we just give away the bishop. And I want to show you that even though white can take the pawn, just want to show you, it's still a draw here, because we make it in time to go to h8. And this is simply a draw, as you can see from the engine, because this bishop will never be able to check the black king. I mean, this endgame is beautiful, and it's a really nice exercise to see how opposite colored bishops work. Even though you're down 2 pawns, you can still draw. So that's crazy. This was a beautiful game. If you've watched so far, thank you so much, and I hope that you enjoyed it and you learned something. If so, please subscribe, like, or comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.